We are in Addis Ababa, the capital of this East African country, with a population of over 77 million inhabitants. For any visitor, Addis looks like most developing towns and cities on the African continent. Traffic congestion is noticed even in the absence of commercial motorcyclists on major roads. Beggars lay siege on most junctions, and the blue township taxis transport just a passenger at a time. In our search for Cameroonians living in the Ethiopian capital, it was observed that their relationship with the embassy was not too cordial. There were even talks of inadequate representation of Cameroon at some regional and international organizations, and in the case of Addis Ababa, the African Union. So this is the seat of the African Union based here in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. We've moved around the main building. You can find the images of Nelson Mandela. You have Tafala Balewa here. You have Patrice Emery Lumumba, the Democratic Republic of Congo. And we've moved all around, but difficult to find one insignia which belongs to Cameroon. And so the question about the representation of the country is still being raised by Cameroonians here. Some Cameroonians we met in the Ethiopian capital preferred not to speak on camera, but expressed regret to what they described as Cameroon's sloppy diplomacy. Others simply question when last the President of the Republic, Head of State Paul Biya, visited the African Union headquarters. The not-too-friendly relationship between Cameroonians and their embassy in Addis Ababa was the talk of the day.
One of the things which people normally have to do is when you are in a foreign country, you have to register at the embassy because you have the right to consular assistance. But we know very well that that consular assistance is usually not forthcoming. So there's usually a hostile relationship between people who live out of the country and their embassies. Most of the Cameroonians you find here are actually professionals, and so there's a, I can say the relationship is warm and cold, so to speak.
We also learned that the more than 150 Cameroonians living in Addis Ababa are mostly professionals working with international organizations such as the United Nations and the African Union and other non-governmental organizations. It was difficult to speak to officials of the association grouping Cameroonians, better known as Cam Addis. There was, however, mixed feelings with regard to the relationship between Cameroonians and their embassy.
There are usually complaints about how the consular offices function. I've heard some derogatory remarks as that the embassies actually function like offices in Cameroon. Some of us haven't had that problem. It's led to a situation where most Cameroonians out of the country have a kind of apathy towards their embassy.
When we took the complaints of poor services, lack of concern and abandonment of compatriots to the Cameroonian embassy in Addis Ababa, the authorities there preferred to maintain a disturbing silence in the absence of the ambassador, who never mandates any of them. We also gathered from consular services that the accusations of abandonment were simply unfounded. The claim was that the diplomats are always too busy attending meetings, and so they spend little time in the Bole neighborhood office. We were almost curiously prevented from shooting images of the one-story building said to have been bought by the Cameroonian taxpayers' money. Have they come here today?
No, Mr. Mida?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Till now they not come here?
Yeah.
It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, no, nobody from there.
Today?
Yeah.
I'm a journalist from Cameroon. I came to my embassy. So I come at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, yeah.
They close at what time?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock in the evening. Okay.
Well, when we come,
Yes.
I will give him.
No problem.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you come after 3 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay, I'll give him.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
To the ordinary Ethiopian, Cameroon remains an incredible country because of its football history.
Cameroon, I know for football, is very famous countries for football. I know Samuel Eto'o, it's a song. It's very famous for football from Cameroon people. I like very much. Maybe I will come Cameroon after I finish my school.
Through the major streets in Addis Ababa, it can easily be observed that the city is under vast construction. Story buildings are sprouting off the ground in the entire city. There is the construction of roads, bridges, and other infrastructure going on simultaneously. There was the impression that Cameroon has to borrow a leaf from the Ethiopian experience.
One of the things you realize in Ethiopia at this moment, the entire country is under construction. That is one of the things you don't find in my beloved country. I hope that will happen because Ethiopia has a higher population. It's a very poor country. It doesn't have resources. But then one of the things they are trying to do is to improve their infrastructure that creates jobs for the people. That's a way of fighting poverty. They're actually developing their private sector. And the private sector is the engine of job creation, not the government. And so infrastructural development is one of the things they're really doing. You look around Addis, every area is under construction. It's not even restricted to the capital city. When you go to the outskirts of the capital, it's the same thing. Road construction, buildings going up all over the place. The entire country is under construction.
In the wake of the ongoing construction works to embellish Addis Ababa, Ethiopians attempted explanations.
Developments are here and there in Ethiopia, especially many construction are taking place in Addis. The government is now keen to transform the country within the next 5 years. As you may know, the 5 years plan of growth and transformation is now implemented in Ethiopia, and everyone is running for that to make it successful. And the government has many mega projects, including the Renaissance Dam. As you may know, the dam is going to be one of the largest, the biggest dam in Africa and the third, I think, in the world. And the others are many powerhouses and power generating dams here and there in every place. And the biggest project out of this is the road project, as you can see in Addis. And in many parts of Ethiopia, there are many roads which are under construction and billion-dollar projects. Of course, the money has come from most of the money has come from foreign aid, and some World Bank is given the money for these mega projects. The private sector, apart from the government, has played a very important role in such a kind of development activities here in this place. You may be visited yesterday. There are many buildings erected and many houses are under construction, and the roads as well. So you can say all the projects are owned by the Ethiopian investors.
We also gathered that the current government is simply implementing the developmental plans started by the deceased Prime Minister Meles Zenawi. Ethiopia being the seat of the African Union, we took time to find out how the continental organization was grappling with the problems affecting the African continent.
Africa faces a lot of challenges. Challenges of peace and security, conflicts in various forms, what one can describe as traditional conflicts, and of course the new threats that are emerging in terms of transnational threats, international crime, and other challenges.
In the case of the Malian crisis and on humanitarian issues, AU officials said much was being done by the organization.
On the 24th of October, the Peace and Security Council had a meeting here to discuss and approve the concept of operation, the strategic concept. The president of the ECOWAS Commission also was here. The head of the political affairs was here. And when the concept of operations, that the military concept was being adopted, it was adopted in Bamako. AU sent people there, ECOWAS sent people there, and then the chief of staff of the ECOWAS's army, the head of the ECOWAS's chief of staff of defense committee, was here, General Bagayogo from Cote d'Ivoire, to present it to Peace and Security Council on the 13th of November. So it has been very, very close coordination.
Our offices are not like UN offices or as such. Most of the time we are based here. We don't have field offices. We try to do as much as possible for the 54 member states we are taking care of when it comes to humanitarian issues. And I want to add to that issue that, you know, when you look at AU is not here, is not there, we usually also collaborate very well with our partners. That is why IDP Convention is the first ever binding instrument, legal instrument in the whole world.
We also gathered from African Union officials that the war in Libya, which financially contributed enormously, affected the smooth functioning of the African Union.
Libya was one of the big five, and I think it still is, although they had requested for an assessment downwards, but I guess this has not been done. Libya is one of the big five. They give 15%, Egypt 15%, South Africa 15%, Nigeria 15%. Yeah, those are our main, and Algeria 15%. So between the five of them, they contribute 75% of the AU total budget. So, I mean, it was a big problem for the AU when we had the Arab Spring, because it affected our funding, because that's 45% of AU funding comes from the northern countries.
What are the other countries doing? They're just there to consume, or what are they doing?
No, between the others, they pay the 25%. Between the other 49 countries, they pay the 15%.
Some of the 54 member states were also indicted for failing to contribute financially, though previewed sanctions were very unclear. Several media men picked holes with the AU's inability to provide timely and adequate information to journalists on the African continent.
We are trying to set up a network of journalists and to make the link with those journalists to give them the information on that. Are we doing what we have to do? No, there is some weaknesses, yes, we recognize, but we are working to be the source of information on the right time, to give the information to the journalists. But we believe a lot on this networking. So if you are in this country and your colleague in the other country, you can exchange the information, we can help us assist.
From a very fair point of view, keen observers were of the opinion that Addis Ababa will fast develop in not too distant future as compared to the capitals of other African countries.